Due to recent events with the Puerto Rico event, I finally had enough and had to do a video to ventilate my feelings with not necessarily World of Warships as a game, but with Wargaming as a company and as a game developer. However, when I had a second thought about it, I think it's better to talk about two sides of a coin than only one. This is due to these things or these two sides coinciding with one another, and the state of the game is influenced and thus affected by the other side of the coin, being Wargaming's treatment of their consumers and advertisement of what they want the game to be than what it actually became or will actually become further down the road, future wise. So, this is gonna be a lot of talking. That's why we'll see the video in the background and some text to help you catch along. Where to start? Where to start? Well, if we go back to in history for a short bit, the game was released in 2015, 17th of September. And I think I started playing it around June 2016. At that time, there weren't many ship lines released. If I remember correctly, we had the American line, IGN line, and the Russian as official free-to-play lines. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not the most important thing here. At that moment of time, the game was fairly simple in my eyes. There were no gimmicks like legendary mods, no deep water torpedoes, no AP dive bombers on CVs, and well, the list goes on. The game was fairly easy to understand and to learn how to play, offering more than enough satisfaction, in my eyes at least, with all the surrounding classes of ship vessels. Where CVs were always a pain in the ass. But let's not start on that one. That could be a complete separate video of its own. Of course, the game had its balancing issues back then as well, but they weren't perhaps so large as today in my eyes. To cut this a little bit short and come to the point I'm trying to make in this video, is Wargaming has released new lines, and all that is fine and nice. Players want new lines, including me, of course. More ships to keep them playing the game. The problems for Wargaming are, in my opinion, these, however, and these things I want to talk about and address is first and foremost the game balance, and then second of all gimmicks, which I tend to mean more or less legendary mods and that kind of stuff. It can also be nation-flavored consumables like Italian smoke for cruisers, speed boost for French battleships, etc. And to top it off, the power creep, which has started to emerge in World of Warships not too long ago. Quite some time when you think about it, but more than a year, even more, like maybe even 2 years back. But it was never that bad in the past as World of Tanks when you think about it. But I suppose that's the natural way it has to go with these type of games, especially if it's a free-to-play model. So yeah, well, let's start with the game balance, shall we? Oh yeah, before we start, I recommend take a cup of coffee or some tea, and because this is gonna be a long one, guys. So yeah, let's start with balance. And my feeling is this: with every new ship line, the ships have to be properly balanced. There is something we know Wargaming have been so and so on. Not the worst, but not the best. Let's not roast them completely, of course. Most ships are fine and interesting. This is not an easy task, to put it out there. Of course, it takes time and proper development to balance a ship and whatnot, or an entire line, for that matter. The problem is when the ships that are released are blatantly overpowered. Most cases has been tier 10 ships, but also a lot of times premiums, of course. What a surprise. If you look at it from a business point of view, and this is really quite understandable. If you make premiums better than silver counterparts, they become more popular to buy for most players. But this puts a bullet in the game balance department. I'm gonna do a little Star Wars analogy here. It's we all know the story of Darth Belfast, the unicorn, as I call it. Well, we all know Belfast is kind of overpowered, and it still is, even though it's been out for, I would guess, more than 2 years, perhaps, or 2 years around, yeah, give or take. When Ranked on Tier 7 was announced, the Belfast came out. The first time ever Tier 7 Ranked was due to be played by the community, that is. If I remember correctly. I don't remember under all of my years that there's been like Tier 7 ranked before the Belfast came out, so yeah. I see what you did there, Wargaming, to be honest. I mean, releasing the Belfast for Tier 7 ranked, it's quite clever, quite clever. So, let's not dwindle on that one for too long. Move on to Tier 10 ships. Well, I know a lot of friends who have skipped their way with free XP to these ships to get their hands on them ASAP. This is, in my view, perhaps even more of an ugly practice because we are talking about silver ships, creme de la creme, Tier 10s. Belfast can get bottom tier and have a harder time, of course. A Conqueror, when it was released, is a completely different story. This kind of practice makes me actually a little bit sick when you think about it. In my eyes, it's just there to make short-term profits at the expense of game balance. Not to talk about most people who spend doubloons on premium camos on the Tier 10 ships. To see them, of course, receiving, and rightfully so, the balance hammer sooner or later. You might think well deserved to those who free XP to these ships. Perhaps sure, but it doesn't solve the core of the problem. Many times we heard Super Tester has been giving feedback that these ships have been blatantly overpowered, but well, Wargaming didn't give a crap about it. I think I could talk or write a complete essay of the balance issues, in all honesty, but yeah, for the sake of the video we need to move on. Otherwise will go on forever, and I've already been talking for a long time already, so... Well, moving on to gimmicks then. No, let's conclude on the game balance quickly. My point is, I know it's a free-to-play game, but if you make premiums, fine, we understand. But I mean, you could understand the premium for being a little bit better than its tier Silver Tree counterpart. But the Belfast, sure, the Fiji is really strong. But that's the Fiji. I mean, it is strong as a ship. But the Belfast, I mean, come on, like it has everything as hydro, radar, smoke. I don't think it had defensive A, of course, but it's shit ton of things it has, man, when you think about it. And good concealment and like even HE, which the line doesn't have. So yeah, I think you get my point, guys. Like, and it's so dirty doing it when the ranked season comes out, and then after tier 7 ranked, they just lower the cost by 50% for the ship to continue making money on it, to flood the game with more ships, more of these Belfast, which the game doesn't need. It's just breaking the game. But the same with the tier 10s, like who really enjoyed the Conqueror when it came out. I mean, for sure, that's not really the only tier 10 like we have the Kremlin. But so I think you understand my point here. I hope you do. We can talk more about this in the future, but I think you all know what I mean, where I want to go with it. So yeah, okay, let's really now move on then. Gimmicks then. What to say about these ones? I wasn't really happy with the legendary modules, for example. Mainly for it being another grind for a ship already grinded. And a ship that has hopefully been balanced correctly in the first place. This brought more complication than what was needed in my book, but perhaps made some ships more interesting, I suppose. I see it as just a thing to keep players interested, which is fine, but yeah, I'd rather have new lines and other tier 10 ships than having new gimmicks like the Italian cruisers with their smokes. I guess these things are actually mostly fine due to them giving a certain line a special touch, flavor. I don't have too much say on this one since it may be both a good and a bad thing regarding the speed boost and the smokes and the consumables. But the legendary modules I had a problem with from the get-go, and I suppose that's very mixed bag in the community. I suppose most people like them as they are now, but yeah, in my opinion, they weren't needed. The good thing would be that different lines regarding consumers will get some difference between their counterparts of other nations, of course. The bad thing if new lines get gimmicks that are too good that they then power creep another older line. French DDs might be one of these. They are crazy in firepower due to their gimmick when close to other DDs, and they have retardedly good torps for close combat as well. Other times you just use your speed in them and stay at range and hit targets easily. Both DDs stupid enough to fight you except Kaba and the other classes of ships. Them giving up their smoke is somewhat of a trade-off, but not really. This is highly subjective, of course, but I think you get my point. Gearing, in my opinion, is going to lose both a close range and a long range agreement versus a Kleber, for example. Because I mean, you pop the reload boost in close range, and you have the retarded torps if you're like really close to each other, which hit like a truck anyway. Not that it matters for DDs anyway, but yeah. And then you, of course, I mean, gearing is not going to win a long range engagement versus a Kleber. I think we all know that, due to its arcs and the Kleber having decent arcs at least. So, and the speed, of course. Yeah. Good luck hitting the fucker as in the first couple of volleys. Well, this moves us on to the next subject, of course, and the last one being the power creep. This is really a thing to be wary about, and something that is never good for any game. There are two ways of making players interested in a new product. In WoW's case, it's either a specific ship or a line of ships. Either you go on making the lines and ship models as historical as possible, excluding paper ships. Then you can, as in this case, make a special kind of ammo for Italian cruisers, for example. If that makes the consumer more interested in that specific line of ship. All fine if properly balanced. If your focus, however, is to release a new line or a new ship, either it be silver ships or premium, that is always going to be better than the previous ones, then that is called power creep. I just need to moisture my mouth a little bit quickly. Okay. What power creep means, that power of balance is always on the move from one ship to another that is released in a timeline. If you understand what I mean by this. This is talking about World of Warships. I mean, not in general. I can explain this perhaps the best by this analogy. Ship X is the best at its current time. Ship Y comes out after it and is better. And then after Ship Y comes out, Ship Z comes out and is better than both Ship X and Y. Even if they are the same class and tier. So, let's say you release new lines. Tier 8 Cruiser, Silver Line is quite good when it comes out. Then the next cruiser line of another nation perhaps comes out, it's better. And the third nation comes out, it's even better. That's not really a good thing, is it? You want those lines at the same tier to be properly balanced. They might not be equally perfectly close in balance, but you need to strive as much as you can for it, of course. Perfect example of power creep in the premium world, at least, would be the Alabama and the Massachusetts. I bought the Alabama when it came out as a premium. Decent ship, not overpowered nor too weak, in my opinion. More consumers like me bought the ship due to looks or playstyle. I honestly bought it both, mostly looks, but I actually like the playstyle, and I like to brawl in. I love to brawl in the NC, so and Alabama is also fun to brawl in. When the sails got colder for the Alabama, this is the timeline now. Couple of weeks, months have passed now. Wargaming announced almost the same ship, Massachusetts, without the community, at least to my knowledge, I might be wrong on this, knowing that Alabama's sister ship would come out after it. Perhaps there were rumors, but nothing confirmed from what I remember. The Massachusetts is supposed to have 0.1 worse Sigma, a little bit worse torpedo boat. Or maybe it's much worse torpedo. I don't really remember, but my case is that in return it got really accurate long-range secondaries, and we all know how annoying and effective those are, thus making the Alabama, in my opinion, weaker and obsolete. I'm very sorry to say this, but this is kind of disgusting practice, in my opinion. If I knew the goddamn Massachusetts were to come out a couple of weeks, months after the Alabama, and looks almost the same, well, yeah, more or less, different camo only, but of course I would buy the Massachusetts for brawling, due to the secondaries and the nature of those. Why would I ever buy an Alabama? Do you see an Alabama today being played compared to Massachusetts? I don't think so. Almost never. And that was especially noticeable in ranked tier 8 sprint. 1 versus 1. I didn't see a single freaking Alabama, of course. And I would never use mine either. Maybe I could use it, but I think you understand what I mean. My point and what we are exactly seeing as of late in World of Warships is this. And that's long been the case of World of Tanks, for example. Is this a good thing? Well, yes, if you stop caring about the older vehicles, ships in the game, and only focus on better performance giving you more advantage. The problem is that it kills the history of the game. In history, I mean the older ships' vehicles. If we talk World of Tanks, for example, as well. Why would a new player to the game start grinding for the Montana when the Kremlin is so strong? Think about that. I mean, sure, looks and history and nation flavor, etc., but strength-wise? Questionable, right? At least it was released, the Kremlin, that is really strong, and is still very strong even after its small nerf when I got it. I really hope I get my message through here regarding the power creep thing. And regarding that one, we can also quickly just fly into and talk shortly about the Soviet Glory Fest, as I like to call it, and which you have heard me being quite frustrated and annoyed by it on my streams. I understand that it is a Belarus Russian game, whatever. I understand that you Wargaming have your fans in your mother country who wants all of the Russian tanks and ships and planes to be the best in the entire world. Understandable, kind of. I mean, Americans want their stuff to be portrayed as the best, I suppose. Problem is, they are not. Sure, Russian engineering has been really good throughout history. I love Russian modern jets, for example. But please, I mean, can't you as a company see that it has become ridiculous as of late? Kremlin before the nerf, best armor, really trolley, best gun pen. Gun penetration, that is. Turrets turn crazy fast for a battleship. Ship turns. I know it's supposed to be a brawler, but ship turns and reacts crazy fast for such a big battleship in Rudder and whatnot. Not the biggest, but not really that small either as a BB either, so. And on top of it all, really good torpedo protection. yeah, and this as well. Shreds planes better than a Montana. Yeah. Really funny when you think about it. And really resistant to fire damage, and the superstructure of it, that is so strong. I mean, if this was a car review, this ship would be 10 out of 10 on almost everything. But it's a freaking paper ship, isn't it? I mean, then you might think, whoa, since it's a paper ship, you can actually, you know, almost buff it to be the best of the best. But it makes it worse, in my opinion. I mean, Yamato, for example, it has the overmatching mechanics on the 32mm armors on most BBs. But it had it in real life. That's the difference. The Kremlin is just a freaking paper ship that was never built. So, who would have known how it really would have panned out? I mean, I would be embarrassed, not proud, if I was from Russia and they were doing this practice, which they are doing. Then you add more salt to the injury as well with the Smolensk. Oh my god. I don't think I need to break down this one for you. I think you all know what it goes for and the bias regarding it. It's not invincible, of course, but yeah, most of the time it's just retarded. Oh, god damn it. Well, now let's move on to the Pay to Rico event, as it has been called. And Wargaming's greed in general. I suppose this is the worst one because it's affecting everything else, of course. Puerto Rico announced as an easily obtainable ship at first for grind around Christmas or the entire December month, when people should not play games, in my opinion, but hey, or not play too much. But hey, maybe I'm just too normal or something. Wargaming even had big streamers and their community contributors undeliberately fooled the community in that the event wouldn't be of a too big grind experience. This was later proved not to be the case. The grind proved to be crazy hard. If you didn't want to ease the pain and spend shit ton of real money into it, of course. Later, Wargaming claimed that the event was supposed to be really hard and only for the most dedicated players out there. I mean, just wow. Why did they even in that case fool their CCs in showcasing it not to be such a grind? Why did it change the objectives later on for the grind, making it harder? I mean, come on. We all know why. Greed, of course. In my opinion, Wargaming has been so greedy for a long period of time now that it's almost comical. I mean, capitalism is really good, but if you take it too far, then, like, yeah. They wanted your lines over and over again to enhance your current tier 10 silver ships in becoming better than before. Power creep, I'm talking to you here. But they stepped down on this idea due to huge backlash. Now they want to change how you grind and obtain the legendary modules for the tier 10 ships. Something they said they will never touch. Haha. Saying A but doing B. Soon becoming a meme with this company. Or perhaps it already is one. One could almost write a book of Wargaming's greedy history, as I said in the start of this video. But I will conclude since I have been going on forever, to be honest, guys. I mean, yeah, that little plan they told the CCs in Russia, in St. Petersburg, I think, when, oh, you can grind your ships again, or your line again, to make your tier 10 more powerful than the first time you obtained it. I mean, at that point, if that was to become true for this game, I honestly would have stopped playing the game. I've been close before, but this one would probably have taken it. Probably. Like the Puerto Rico, I just don't give a shit. It's a shit fucking ship. Sorry for cursing. Alaska is 100 times better, especially for its tier. Why would you ever pay it, even if you're a collector? I mean, collect how much you want in this game. If it's something I learned about video games, and I've been playing them since I was a little shit, it's that after a couple of years you lose your interest yourself. You don't give a shit about the things you collected because they are not for real. They disappear with the game's inevitable, like, death. So why even care when you think about it? Think with your wallet, guys. If you didn't grind for it, of course. But even then, I uploaded ones who actually had the energy to do it.
Problem solved, sir.
So, sorry guys. I want to move on, but I can't. But to conclude it all, I have a couple of points to say. 4 points mainly, and then I will conclude this video. Almost 30 minutes as of now. 1. Have respect for your own game, Wargaming. Stop the power creeping before it's too late, and find other ways of making new ships and lines more interesting. 2. Stop trying to deliberately fool your consumers and treat them like milking cows, full of money. Especially the case for EU. Just saying. Just because you reverted some of your crazy ideas in the past due to huge backlash doesn't mean we forget. I know you as a company are trying to see how much more money you can make and what crazy ideas the community might accept somehow. But please, you really take your own player base for complete and utter idiots and show lack of respect in doing this. Point 3. Respect your player base, and they will grow to respect you back. Ties in with the previous 2 points. You as a company need to find more respectable ways to make money. Releasing overpowered Belfast for ranked season and then giving a discount on it directly after ranked tier 7, as I previously talked about, has ended is just foul. Clever business practice, one might say, and it is, to be honest, it is a clever business practice. But seriously, the disrespect for your own product and game is beyond me, to be fair on this one. Not only is that a way to make more money faster, but also to flood the meta with these kind of ships. Yeah, and then you stop selling them. Sorry, but the damage is already done. Number 4. Yeah, I'm starting to laugh now, but yeah. Please, stop your Russian bias. I think it's quite enough that you infest the World of Tanks with it already. It doesn't have to be that way in World of Warships. So, you still can repair that one, I hope so. So guys, I hope you are still here and had energy to listen to my little rant or concerns, whatever you want to call it, for the game. If you want to read this instead of listening to the video, due to me talking too much, I will post this in my Discord channel and also include a link to it on the video description. I thank you for sticking by, and remember to always vote with your wallet. Trust me, I don't mind paying for a product that I see has a future and that the company respects. Not only its product, but also its consumers.
Problem solved,
And on that
sir.
one, that was it from me. And if you feel like discussing this more, like on my Discord or in private, reach out to me, and yeah, we can talk more about it. But it's not enough with our talk. We as consumer need to, as I said previously, vote with the wallets. Flip out when they come with these crazy ideas, and hopefully they will listen as a company. But I'm not gonna leave it all in dark, of course. They are doing good things. They are releasing good ships still and new interesting lines, and I just am concerned after spending so much time in this game and so many years, and gotten to know so many people in real life as well, and met people that I won COTS 5 with and everything, that this game will just die off too soon than what is needed for it. It can live on for so much longer time if Wargaming just treats its own game with more respect and stops being too greedy. So thank you very much, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you around. Bye bye.